And we're up and rolling.
Righty.
So, welcome everybody to a gathering of eagles. We're going to be talking balance today and some new directions. And I don't know what else. We're going to get a direct report from the, what's the name of the camp?
It's called Coldwater
Coldwater Spring.
Spring.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Whew,
Mni Owe sorry, I'm probably slaughtering it, but Mni
yep,
Owe Sni
that's good.
Sni
Yeah, Mni Owe Sni.
Sni.
Yeah, Coldwater Spring up in Minneapolis, where some of our group from Pine Ridge has gone up. Actually, 7 of them ended up going to this prayer camp there to protest what's going on in Minnesota, but also to offer prayers for everybody. So, that's good. Why don't we spend a minute this time? We don't always do this, but just to go around the circle here and everybody just give a quickie check-in, who you are, why you're here. Like Peter, I haven't seen Peter for a while. Peter is another amazing connection to the mother and to nature. So why don't we start? Who wants to start us, Valerie?
Okay, I guess it'll be me. Uh, I'm Valerie Cleveland. I'm a retired teacher, mostly middle school, 38 years. So this is my first. I haven't quite made it a year into retirement, so new beginnings. And I've been pursuing my studies in the area of Native American spirituality, which has drawn me to Jerry via Jerry Jim to Jim Graywolf. So um, I just feel like I belong here. That's the truth of it. So I just keep coming. I was so excited. I was just like, I couldn't wait. Couldn't wait. All right. So that's me.
Great. Who wants to take the talking stick next?
How about Carla?
I'm Carla. Um, Carla McCarley. I'm from Twisk, Washington. It's the stolen lands of the Methow people. The it's the Methow River on the confluence of the Columbia, and I've been a massage therapist for the last 23 years, and I am European and Seminole, and um, I think, Jim, you're in the Global Network and Mighty Networks, but I heard about you through, um, so I actually saw you there first, but it was Jerry Bernard that through our We Are the Medicine group that introduced us, and then Valerie is who brought me here today, off of Firekeepers meeting to Gathering of Eagles and so on. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad you're here. Who wants to do a quick check-in? Chris, there you go. You're poking. Now I see you.
Christopher did came here through Gary, of course, from the We Are the Medicine. Yeah, I just enjoy the company that I meet at these circles. Know everybody from other places as well, so it's like we're all winding up we're all just following each other around with a little short bus. I like farming. I study a lot and working on putting together a regenerative agriculture type farm, holistic land management, all these practices kind of put together to form the most cohesive way of mimicking Mother Nature in food production, living, housing, stuff like that. So all kind of crazy stuff going on. So yeah, that's
Great.
farming.
Thanks. Welcome again. There's
Hey,
Melissa.
Melissa.
Hi, good evening.
We're all just introducing ourselves.
Yes, I've been listening. Good
Oh,
evening,
okay.
everybody. So good to see you all. I think I know everybody except for Peter. So, hello, everybody. I'm Melissa Jennings. I'm coming to you from Long Island, New York. And I'm a social worker, turned soul worker, is what I've been coining it when I went to seminary after all these years. So I've been doing this for a while. I love to work with children and families, and I've taught in a variety of schools. I've worked in hospitals. I've worked in foster care. My career really began with a caseload of missing foster children, and that was my introduction to the social work. So through that, I've always specialized working with children with complex trauma and women as well, and men. And most recently, the last 4 years, I've dedicated pretty much my entire practice to heart-centered hypnotherapy, holotropic breath work, and I balance that with drumming with some really amazing, beautiful women upstate New York, and we're called Spirit of Thunderheart, and we drum and a lot of the peace festivals and a lot of gardens, and I've had a background in horticulture and landscape design and building houses. So I run the gamut and change an engine, all that stuff. So I love to get my hands dirty, and I love to connect children with the dirt. That's really the antidote. So thank you. And Lupo means wolf, and Melissa means honeybee. So I think Creator had a fun plan for us here.
Creator has a good sense of humor.
Yes, he does. Yes, it does. It does.
Who wants to be next? Peter, you on?
I can go, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, so I'm Peter. I'm up in Maine on what is the land of the Penobscot Nation. And what do I do? I'm also addiction counselor, among other things, and my heart passion is eco-spiritual. I'm a Buddhist priest also, and my heart passion is eco-spirituality, and of late, in interest in cultivating the divine feminine as part of my connection to Mother Nature and the land. So that's. Oh, I grew up on Long Island. That's another thing.
Oh, we're sorry. Oh.
I got the F out of there as fast as I could.
Yep, I hear you. I was around Philadelphia, and it took me a while to escape too. Chris or Amy, either one want to pop in for anything? You can or not. It's up to you.
Yeah, obviously I'm Christopher. I'm in New Zealand, and I'm just very reflective at the moment. So there's not a lot I feel I have to share at this stage. So, yeah.
Okay. Amy, welcome. Do you wish to stay silent? You can. Or if you want to pop on, you can. I think that's a vote for silent. Okay, and I'm Jim Graywolf, and I'm in Arizona, land of the Yavapai and the Apache, which is part of what my blood is, but my tribe is actually back east, Lenape, United Western Lenape. And I'm Romany Gypsy. And one of the co-hosts here, there's now 4 of us, Melissa, Valerie, Christopher, and myself. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, because we're going to kind of revamp this thing. We hosts have been talking, but we really want to hear from other people. So this is a nice assortment of people today. That's great. I'm sure we'll get some valuable advice. Yep. Melissa, is that a... Oh, I see. That's chat. Sorry. I thought it was a hand up.
Amy is saying that she's
I
having
was trying to look. I think it was my Amy. This is one of my Amy's who's been with me for many years. So I invited a lot of people tonight, and
Cool.
so I'm welcome. I'm glad she's here. Welcome, Amy.
Yeah, welcome. Absolutely.
Do you have the ability to unmute anyone?
Do I?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think you can do that.
No.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
I don't know.
You can mute
Amy,
them, but
if
you
you're
have
on the phone, you switch to go to the left. If you
Yeah.
swipe, that's how I've done it in the past.
And Amy
Okay,
says
sorry.
she's Melissa's Amy. Okay.
Okay. We tried. Sorry about that.
Got it. All right, and I'll bring in. So Tom is up there with 6 others from Pine Ridge up in Coldwater Spring Camp in Minneapolis. Also, Mni Owe Sni, I think. I'm not sure. It's the prayer camp up there. There's a lot of different tribes there now. And there's a good number of non-tribal people, he was telling me as well. They're there to put prayers into this whole scenario we have playing out everywhere. Put in prayers to try to end. I'm just looking at his work. He's typing as we talk. Try to end the occupation up there. Everything is, they found, very peaceful. There is no turmoil at all, so anything you hear about that is false. I think we've learned that. So he hopes the signal with the phone even holds. I guess it's a sacred site they're trying to get back, but it's a state park in the meantime. So they have petitioned Governor Walz to return that to them. But ICE was saying they were going to come over and remove them from the park. Apparently they've backed off on that. So right now the park is somewhere between state park and back to tribal sacred site. There's a lot of that going around too. Another piece of balance. So who would like to do an opening prayer? Anyone?
If anybody's called, I mean, I can. I'm sorry, I was discombobulated. My chicken took longer than I expected. Single mom in it over here. So, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I have some sweet grass and I have my violet flame. So this works.
Okay.
This works. So I want to work with some color tonight. So let us, as we gather and as we plan, I want you to just envision yourself sitting in the center of a beautiful crystal white rose. And as you see yourself in that beautiful rose, just take a deep breath in and allow for that beautiful sweetness to enter in the color white, gently entering through your body. And allow that to just enter your lungs, into your bloodstream, and pump that beautiful white light from your heart all the way through your whole entire body. You feel that beautiful ray of sunshine coming down from our great central sun. Today is our beautiful new moon. It is the Chinese New Year. It is the 17th of February. We began at 7 Eastern my time. 7:17 has been shown. If you take a look at that beautiful column through the center of your body, the Sushumna, and just allow that central sun to come down and gently cascade down your crown, into your third eye, down your throat, into your heart center, into that solar plexus above your belly, into your sacral center, your creativity, down to your root center and down your legs and into the earth. And just allow that energy on your feet to grow like tree roots into the ground. Bodhi is here. And just allow yourself to be that conduit and that bridge, bridging heaven and earth, especially during this time of this beautiful stallion. See the fire throughout your body. And we call upon the violet flame of transmutation. As our feet are firmly planted into the earth, we just allow that violet flame to encompass our whole body and to loosen up anything that may no longer serve us, any false limiting beliefs, any thought forms, anything that may have come into our field today. We let that slowly burn away and transmute. And just see that violet flame. See the beautiful colors, just like the wampum from the ocean. Connecting all elements as we pull that all into our heart center. And we see that threefold flame in our heart. We see the pink for love, mercy, and compassion. We see the blue for protection, perseverance, and peace. And together those form the violet flame of transmutation. So allow that violet flame to blanket our homes, our communities, our states, our country, the continent, our earth, and out into all the multiverse, and allow the truth to come through. We thank Creator, Mother, Father, God, all the ancestors, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, all our elders, all of those that have walked before us, walk with us, and walk in front of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Perfect start. Working with the colors, that's a great idea. It's another balance point. So let's see, there's 8 of us, 4 men and 4 women. We're balanced. Very good. See how we planned that? So we've been running this podcast by topics, and we can still do that at times if we want. But we all have been talking, and it seems to make it more open right now, more of a circle, more almost of a talking circle, but also with elements of podcasts. We have folks who are asking to be interviewed or have been suggested we interview. We have some people been talking to the Kogi, and they're working something up to invite us to one of their ceremonies down in their sacred caves. So there's a lot of elements here we can mix together. And I think for me it comes out of my walk, which is I've always been a bridge between cultures and communities. Chris and I were just on a call before this talking about this. I have to remember what I said where. Now's the time to come together, and so we can retain each our cultural ceremonies, prayers, customs, but we also have to be united in a way that we can share those customs. And so that's what I've been working on a lot. And this circle is starting to do that, so we can connect with other circles and begin to get through this chaotic part of the shift we're in and on to the other side where Thunderbird will lift us up and we can start doing the reweaving work. Who wants to say anything else about that, the shift in what we're going to do, so we can get people to input as we go ahead today? Anyone? It's hard to be specific because we didn't get to that point. Okay. I guess we covered it.
What we can do is, what would you like to see? You know, what are you, think about what you're, I don't want to have a negative fence, but, you know, what do you feel like you're missing? I was sharing that I do not as many as Carla, but I do a lot of circles, and all of them kind of skirt around current events. It's kind of like they don't exist, and it's it's part of me where I guess I want to discuss it. I want to share other people's views, and I know that people avoid it because they don't want conflict, but I don't care if we have different views. That would be okay, you know? So that's just kind of like my thought is like, for example, the Coldwater Spring camp, prayer camp. I've been just praying for them every day, and I'm just thrilled to get a good report because I'm my heart is just there with them, even though I can't be there physically. Um, so those kind of things mean a lot to me personally, and it's something that I get here at the Gathering of Eagles that I don't get anywhere else. So that's my thought for what it's worth. Love to hear some of your thoughts.
That's really good. And for those that don't know, Valerie's daughter is right up there also, right up in Minneapolis. And so there is a connection there. I'm just hearing from Grandmother Val. The grandmothers came to us through Pine Ridge where grandmother was visiting for a while. And now there's 13 of them they have involved. A couple more joined. But it looks like two of the grandmothers are also from up near Minneapolis, and they're going to be in the prayer camp either tomorrow or the next day. So it's really interesting. We're having a real presence there. And there are other prayer camps popping up. So that's also good to see. Let's see. I think you were next.
Okay. I would like to discuss maybe what kind of education system do we move into for children from here? Because the one that we had now is currently broken completely. They don't accommodate for the children that are here now. Like my son, they would put him. They try to say that he is autistic, but it really, I don't think they know what that really means. Everybody's autistic at on some degree, since it's on the scale, the spectrum. But he's 4.5 years old, and he's 7-year-old level. He can speak just about any word that he sees, and I don't want to put him in school, not this school. So that to me seems like a big issue that we need to come. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. What kind of education should we give children now? I was advised not to teach them our, but to slow down enough to see his. Is what I was looking at.
That's right in Melissa's camp. But before I shift it over to her, I'm just going to on the 30,000 foot level, all the systems are broken. So yeah, education for sure, and I was in that for 30 years, so I've seen it too. But all of them are broken right now. So it's a good question and a critical one because they're the next ones. Some of us are getting much closer to the end of our walk than the beginning, so we need the young ones to be ready to take over. Melissa, you want to take that one?
Sure. Really, I worked in specialized schools and I worked in public schools. So we created Article 89 schools in like specialized settings for foster children, and then we worked in different schools that were residential schools, and then I worked in a mainstream high school with 1,600 students in Long Island, Hicksville, home of Billy Joel, and the Long Island Medium, and yeah, a little bit of Long Island for you. And then I went on maternity leave after I had my two daughters, and I lit a green candle, said a prayer for prosperity, and I got an email that evening about a school looking for a social worker that would be a wise woman to the children to teach their human fertility, sex education, and health programs, and looking for somebody on an alternative path, somebody spiritual. And I had just read Brian Weiss, and I had just come from Omega Institute, and I was opening this, door of transpersonal psychology way deeper than I ever would. And I found the Waldorf education system. And, I'll say that everything was fine and dandy up until COVID. I think that that was the most cohesive system from studying all different systems. And even since then, there's been technology and whatnot. It depends. And I've been a Waldorf homeschooler. I tried to homeschool my daughters for a bit with a Waldorf curriculum. I think that's exactly it. One of my favorite books, Chris, is Expecting Adam by Martha Beck. And that talks of a woman who in the 80s was pregnant. She was at Harvard and she was studying her PhD, her and her husband. And the boy had Down syndrome, so they wanted her to terminate the pregnancy. And Adam was speaking to her. So this book's about all of her mystical experiences about being a mom and slowing down. And what Adam taught her was to stop and smell the roses. So there's that rose motif coming through tonight. We've been talking about the last 2 days. And the message you're receiving is absolutely right. In Waldorf education, Steiner perspective is really to slow down learning until you get your big teeth, until you're fully incarnated into this soul, in this body, first 7 years, or until you get your big teeth. And that's like no formal dance class, no forming of the body. You really want to let that soul incarnate. So when I was a Waldorf teacher, I sat on this child study team, and we saw the children who were too exposed to media, who were too exposed to music, who couldn't regulate the sensory that was coming through, and they were so far from being in the dirt and in the earth that they had trouble. They landed sideways, and then that rippled out throughout their development. So from what I can see in my background in education and being, teaching, I've taught from like babies till collegiate level. And I think that that's the best, is that pedagogy and that child development. That's what I could say. In combination with a lot of what, a lot of our indigenous teachings, and that's really influenced a lot of this, So it's what we know. And let our children lead the way.
Well, so what kind of things do you do for grounding? I see exactly what you're talking about, kind of like a nervous energy. The children are kind of out of their body sort of thing. What kind of things do you do with children to get them to ground?
So one of the things that I do is I use frequency. I have a talk on that. If anybody wants, you can message me and I can send it to you. I got to put it up on YouTube. I'm in the middle of creating that container. But frequency is medicine. So I work with different various tuning forks. So when I work with my children, the kids love these ones. These are angel tuners. And what they do is they bridge these vibrate the cranial bones in your brain, in your head. My teacher is Dr. John Billiou. He's actually running a course on these tuners as we speak. If anybody, it's biosonics.com. And I had the privilege of studying with him. He lives upstate New York. And what's the experience then? So I use various tuning forks and I teach them. I work with kids with elements, with art. I do sand play therapy with them. But just connecting them and having rhythm and routine is vital. Mealtime, reverence. I mean, it depends on the age, but I'm sure you're doing a great job, Chris. And I had those same thoughts, and that's when I found Waldorf education. So for me, Steiner was really great. But I see that as being a basis, but I see that evolving. And that's partly why I'm here, is to create this with us together.
That in with some of the nature school. I came up with that, the nature Waldorf, the nature school, and Montessori was the three to combine it together.
Yeah, Maria Montessori was brilliant. The forest schools. My friend Charlie, he created the first ones in Brooklyn and New York City, Prospect Park and Central Park, Brooklyn Forest. They're called. You can check them out and like kind of see what they do. But it's all Waldorf
Yeah.
connecting.
Oh, really? So,
Yeah, the forest
yeah.
schools are. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
The same
Yeah.
rhythm.
Same rhythm. Yeah.
Good.
He's 4.5. They want to put him in school already, but I've kept him out so far. And I have to make a decision here this year by the end of the year.
Boys traditionally, we say hold them back
Oh,
1 year. Boys more than girls, and that's just been developmentally because boys take a little bit longer socially. That's just our composition.
We go outside every day, walk. We walk all the way to go see the animals, collect stones. We used to go to the river and collect sticks. We got a huge imagination. He could pick up a stick and it would be a pelican or an elephant. He just had, and then he would walk around with it all day, feeding it or doing whatever he had to do to it. He loved the sticks. So, yeah, we'll talk about that.
And
That's
I'll
good.
just
It's
share,
not-
just overall, we have FOMO. So many parents, nowadays, just in the mainstream, we're being pressured to send our kids to every single thing. They're not going to get into college if they don't have this long sheet of things. And I can say, I know, and the Ivy League schools are not looking for that big sheet. They're looking for real stories, and they're looking for growth, and they're looking for leadership, and they're looking for perseverance. And they're looking for like the kids that we're working with here on this podcast who are making a difference and that are taking a stand and that are sharing their voices as youth. So I just want to piggyback on just Valerie, and I just want to just answer your question so we could circle back to that. I media fast overall because it's really hard for me to discern what's true and what's not. And, a lot of my colleagues and being a college professor, I get frowned upon at times, but I'm like, my nervous system has a real hard time. I use my intuition more than anything to kind of know to take the pulse of what's going on in the world. But I truly am so appreciative of having people that are on the ground and places like this that we can share the truth. And I think that that's what is so vital in any type of circle of this nature that we're talking about gathering. It's like we are the eagles. I just see it like we're gathering in different parts of the world and we're looking and we're seeing what the truth is. And then we come together here and we know that I'm not a robot. You're not a clone, like we hope anyway. Right? But I'm not going to talk about aliens. We're probably all aliens. We're all hybrids. We know that. But, like it's the honest truth and we can be there and you can report back. So that's what I think is what sets us apart from most. And I'm honored to be a part of that. So thank you, Valerie. And thank you to the grandmothers who are on the ground and the youth that are watch this and watch these on the return. And it's amazing. So keep up the good work. We need you.
Yeah, we need everybody right now. That's right, because we all have a little bit of the whole. So we have to bring our bits and pieces in. And yeah, and this this podcast is evolving and changing on its own. We're just guiding it. So that shows me we're in the right space. And Chris, you're out there. You're taking your son out into nature. You got the best teacher there is. That's the best way to start anyway. I've learned more out there than I learned in any classroom. And every time I've taught from K-12 schools up to university, I always had my students get out there. Every class I taught. Some of them loved me, some of them hated me, but I didn't worry about that. They just didn't have to take me again if they didn't like it. But you're starting it well.
Well, mine finished at 17. So, my model didn't go to college. It was by 17 they should be well-adjusted from following this curriculum, that they should be entrepreneur, start their own business. And college really is, I don't know, I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, God help you, or a doctor, but we won't need doctors when we have good food. Now, I mean, to put people back together, but as far as health's concerned, good farmers, you don't need good doctors.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to move back to the phone. Here's a little more I'm getting from Coldwater Spring. First of all, Tom's saying the feeling up there is they're praying for everybody, and they want to see more camps like this pop up. That in part, they're copying the Standing Rock model. They're coming together, very diverse groups. There's people there now, he says, from at least 12 tribes. And with the people with him, 3 are members of our youth council. We had a youth council develop out of our group at Pine Ridge that were listening into us. So what's going on now is they're there, they're doing their prayers. More people are coming. The state park people, it is a state park, and the rangers are showing up every day, even though they're not paid to do it, to check in on people, see if everybody needs anything. So they're a very active part of this. And I guess the ICEBAC folks have said they were going to allow them to stay through Thursday. Camp members met last night and have decided we're not moving, we're not budging, we're here. Which we can all send them prayers as we're doing this show. It'll get really interesting because I see today someone told me, one of my contacts up that way, that the courts have said things have got to be open on Thursday, Friday, starting then this week, for anybody in the clergy to come in to the ICE facilities, to come into the land where they've done their prayer ceremonies. So we're going to have the religious prayer ceremonies and the indigenous ceremonies going on up there, because neither group wants to back down. So it's I'll send my prayers. I remember what it was like sitting in Standing Rock as that stuff developed. But this is all happening in a good way. And I like what Melissa said. I feel really blessed to be a part of this. I didn't know it was going to develop into this. Actually, I started this originally with Jerry. Then he ended up going up there to Oregon doing his work. And then Chris came on board, and now it's blooming. It's all of us. It was never just a couple of us. So we got to keep that going. The changes need to happen, and the biggest element to me of that is Mother Earth. It's what the Mother is now telling us we have to do, and that's changing daily. And we could go into that. That's 4 programs just there. But we know those changes are happening, even if they're not being reported back to us. So if we're working directly with the Mother, any of these systems can be remade, I think. Ooh.
Something on that. A friend of mine, Christina, she has this thing called Fuego. It's the cold flame. And she's been getting downloads saying that the flowers have disconnected from the plants, and the flowers being the gondola of Mother Earth, and that she's being called to go in and reconnect the flowers to the plant. So I designed her a whole container for this that went globally at the end of it, where people could come on and do the work themselves in their area and connect all the nodes together, so people would see how it would grow and how everything gets reconnected again. Because that's the mycelium. Again, back to the Valerie's mycelium. So, all connected.
Yep, it is. Definitely. And the whole nature thing is evolving in a new way too. I was on a call with the grandmothers a couple days ago, so they wanted me to mention the indigenous presence we need right now. Yeah, and that's been cranking out. It turns out there's a little bit over 5,000 different indigenous cultures on the planet. I was amazed when I heard that. I checked it myself, and it's true. That's a lot of indigenous cultures. So to hear 5,000 different voices, 5,000 different opinions, isn't going to get us where we want to be. It's pulling these things together, sharing our beliefs, and not just the indigenous, of course, all the cultures, because we're all indigenous at one point or another. but the currently indigenous people, the ones who still have their hands in the dirt, can lead us in a lot of things. I like the plant thing you're mentioning too, Chris. I wanted to go even deeper into my work, and at 76, I don't have as much energy as I used to. So I started, and I used to work with plant nations a lot. I was ready to do a little more work. I was talking to a Mayan brother in Belize, Central America, and he reconnected me with a woman there who works with plants from all over the world. So yes, the plants also, the animals, the plants, they're all part of this. We can't leave them out. This is not just about humans. That's a mistake we've made, many have made for too long. A lot of cultures know it's true that, all my relations, Mitakuye, that doesn't mean just humans. That means everything. Plants, animals. Well, I was going to make a bad joke. I'm going to pass on that.
You'd be the last on the list anyway. After the plants, animals, and the plants, and stones, and trees, they're all your way.
Yep. Okay, talking sticks back in the middle.
I'll
Chris.
pick that up.
Okay, go ahead, Carla.
Carla, welcome.
I'm having a hot flash.
Can't help you there.
No, it's all the fire today. This is what happens when you keep it. No, just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. But I like what you guys are talking about. And, it's funny when Melissa was talking about, the education, and with being a massage therapist for the last 20 some odd years. Like, I taught at the college, but I haven't had to have a resume. And I just finished my medicine wheel class with Valerie. And so I went into town because I wanted to share it with the community, right? Because that's what I've seen here is, like I said, being on indigenous land and seeing the separation with the children from taking 3 generations of kids to basketball games and different stuff. There's a division. You have the natives up in Omak, and this is the 12 tribes. And then here you have mixed kids and a lot of white, well-off children. And we're lucky that our schools have gardens, and, it's really beautiful area to live in. But I've seen the clash in cultures and the clash in the religions and the clash, and so so it was really interesting to go in today to volunteer to bring some indigenous teachings to the sobriety, wellbriety, to the, instead of AA or NA, to our town to help start bringing more of the indigenous teachings to our town. Because what I've seen and what I know with every person besides the ones in the communities that I've sought in these circles and the teachings is that we are so bound, like what they say, in a colonized way, right? And just even speaking to the people in my own friend group, they don't know about the things that we talk about every day, right? It's really a concentric circle. So it's like what Chris was saying, it is a network. And instead of just being in these circles, it's just like what Chris was saying with his kid. That's what I do with all of these kids. They didn't ever have, they've never touched a drum before they touched my drum. They never, and like I said, some of these are indigenous kids that they're disconnected from their culture too, or the white kids that are raised in the church. And they're being taught some of the same principles, values, and core values, but just in a different way. And so when I go to my Christian church, I pray in a native way. And when I go to my native circles, I bring God, because it's all one. It's all connected. It's all the same. And the separation is the biggest disconnection and illusion that I see throughout this our whole world, you know? And so I don't know really, my point is radiant love, you know, just that with every person that we can talk to about anything that's going to bring them closer to the teachings, like you said, of the dirt and the tree and the earth and the birds. You know, just like the other day, I went to an espresso stand, they're talking about hunting. And I said, "Oh, did you offer tobacco?" And they look at me, and it went in, you know, and I taught them about what offering was. And so and they are open to the teachings. So how do we, not just in a school where the parents are looking for that, how do we touch everybody, right? Not just in circles, not just in a certain thing where people are seeking that, because that's what we have. We find it. You know, it's the ones that don't have it, the ones that don't know that they don't have to be on blood pressure medicine if you treat the if you can name it, if you go to ceremony. These are things we're not taught. So, anyway, radiant love. That's my point. Pass better.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I've been teaching about using love to start recreating for years and years, but it's only recent that I really understand that whole unconditional love thing and how that ties in with nature and the world around us. So yeah, more and more of that, and that's a lot of those teachings are teachings that Indigenous people hold. Not all Indigenous people are like anyone else, so are more connected than others. Something came to me we were talking, but it went away. I should have made a note. No, I could have made a note. I put a different background up. That's for you, Melissa.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, if I may pick up that stick,
Yeah.
when you said radiance, you know, I have a couple of children's books that I was reading and these are actually, so you spoke about did you speak about the 8, or were you just talking that in between, that space between, right? Okay, so this has been so important. And with the tuning forks, this is also just with the C and G tuning forks, which are the two that I recommend the most when I work with people. Those bring you to the perfect fifth, and those bring you to that node, like that in between spot of the figure 8, right? So this is what brings us there, just this. And what we know is that by using these and listening to them, and then we switch sides and we click them again and we listen to them, it actually brings us to a state of relaxation that it would normally take us about 45 minutes to get to. We get there in about 45 seconds with this. So, you know, what's going on now is like we're not keeping up with the level, like you mentioned, downloads or epiphanies or this idea of this enlightenment, and that's where we get in trouble. So we've studied like the different vibration, and if we're always trying to just get to that high, that's what's going on. And now we can talk about it publicly because now it's out. I've been talking about this stuff for 15 years. Now we can be like, oh yeah, this is what's going on. And like, I have colleagues that are in those files that I worked with, you know, and it's like, whoa, you know, when they're calling people out and they're going on their Instagram and they're like, you were my guru. You signed my books, you promoted me, now what? So we're being called to lead, and it is connected to the 8s and that node, that in-between spot, because that's where we can get into our heart and out of our head, and we go from enlightenment to love. And that if we are staying in the heart and go from the heart center, that toroidal field, and just spread it. Sorry, I have teenagers yelling in the background. I apologize. I'm living it. You're seeing it right on the ground. Enjoy the 4.5-year-old, Chris. But the other day, I picked this book up, and it's with St. Francis of Assisi, but it's all about Brother, Sun, and Sister Moon. And it's just such a beautiful book. And you ask, like, oh, and I actually bought this up at the shrine of Saint Kateri Tekakwitha, who was the only Native American who was ever canonized as a saint. And that her shrine is 3 hours and 33 minutes from my house. And I have a big devotion, and our band drummed at her feast day, and they have a true hybrid of a mass where we're staging and smudging and singing and calling in the Creator and calling in the four directions as we're going to get and receive Holy Communion. And it's just a bridge, Listen, I have issues. I was raised Roman Catholic. My home, my church, St. Aidan's, right here, Wilson Park, 505 Willis Avenue, 60s, 70s, and 80s. 3 priests that were indicted for raping children in my hometown, my friends. So listen, and it wasn't until recently that it really all kind of came to light for me. And that's where I lie in that intersection of, wow, you know what? Like, it's hard, but I do feel that Christ energy. I can't deny that. I do feel the energy from Buddha. I can't deny that. I can't deny that I don't feel that energy from the mother. And I feel the energy from the great mother of the earth. I have to be in nature. So how do we blend that? How do we keep people in their hearts? And I think that that well-briety, as opposed to maybe those NA or AA meetings. I grew up in those meetings. I put both my parents into rehab when I was 17. Like, I eat, sleep, and breathe the Serenity Prayer, I lived it. And that's why I say I've been a social worker for like almost 50 years at this point. And I know that what's most important is that we feel connected and we feel in community with one another. And those well-briety meetings all do come from indigenous teachings, by the way. Carl Jung influenced Bill W., who created all of those rooms, who influenced the 12-step programs, and a lot of people don't know that. So that, I think, is where our education system has to go, as to what are your roots? Your roots are literally in the earth. And we all have to understand that everything that we need to heal ourselves was given to us. Doctors back in the day did not have to go to medical school. They just intuitively knew inside the body. And when you allow yourself to become in tune, you have those superpowers too. So how do I help kids ground? Like, that's part of it, is showing them their superpowers. And we talked about this, I think, 2 episodes ago. Start with the breath. Talking stick in the middle. Sorry, I know that was a long one, but
No, it's okay. This is good.
that's poking me tonight.
We're heartstorming tonight to see where we're going next. And I see some people are sitting and absorbing and can speak later if they want to, or not. Oh dear, I'm drawing a blank. Carla had to leave. She had another meeting, so she said goodbye. Thank us all. She'll be back again. And Chris is still here. Okay. There he is. Down under. The whole, so teacher training is another biggie. And I'm an oddball too. So, my first degrees were in education, in English and theater and speech. But my real education started when I started meeting up with people of different cultures, especially indigenous. And so I am, one of my things I am, because it just labels me, as an intuitive psychotherapist. And I'm registered in Colorado, because in Colorado you can do that. I don't have a lot of degrees for that. That's not what my degrees are in, but I have the teachings of my elders. So there was a long process of being interviewed to find out who my teachers were and what they taught me. And then, at least there, they recognized, okay, that's a track to go down. And so that's quite useful. But I agree with you on we're doing a lot on education, but that's good. That's where it went. When I was with university and teaching, That's where I was going to go. Melissa, you said earlier, they come in and they haven't even done some basic things. Well, I ran the environmental center for Colorado State University, and I would have groups of students come. Some from Fort Collins, where that is, some from Denver, some from out in the east, where all the farms were. And it amazed me how many of those kids had never walked on the earth. They only knew from cement walkways. They were literally scared. And unfortunately, I think some of their elders had instilled in them this fear of nature. Oh my God, if I walk on that ground, what's going to get me? The bugs, the bees, the birds, I don't know. The pterodactyls, they might even thought that, I don't know. So I learned quickly that you had to do a breakdown. You had to do a deconstruction before you could start even teaching these young people. Boom. And, okay. Grandmother Val is also a teacher, was a teacher, she's retired. And so yeah, she's saying she couldn't agree more. And still she works with young people. I think all of us do. Any of us who teach never really stop. And it's still, because now the young people are asking a ton of questions. And she wants to make sure, I know a lot of us are saying this, and it's all over social media, when our grandkids look back, or their grandkids, and want to know what we did in this time of enormous change, we want to be able to say we're on the right side of history. And I think that's really, that's a valid point. And I know in this case we have it right. Somebody said earlier about being different. I don't remember who. I've been the oddball my whole life. And, the tree-loving freak and the goofball and you don't know what you're talking about, why don't you, get a real job type stuff. But now we're the majority. So it is time to do this work, to sit and to start creating. And if some don't like it, that's okay. Go away. Go away. You're not needed at this point. Without judgment, but just get the heck out of the way. So I love what's happening in like Minnesota. And it's spreading now. It's spreading rapidly. The young people are picking it up. There's going to be a lot more of the Future Friday protest happening. I saw from some of those groups that I sit with. So we're just going to allow it to grow. And hopefully stay peaceful like it's been. Because that's the way we really want to change this. Talking stick in the middle. Chris, by the way, was really feeling not well, so I think he dropped out. I don't know if he'll be back or not, but he gets special dispensation. He was on numerous calls today too, and his system can't take it.
I'll share that when I began at the Waldorf School, we had a series of speakers, and I'd like to, we'll come up with a resource list of the different various ones. Nancy Carlson Page is in Boston. She runs the Defending the Early Years Act. Actually, like an 8 or 10 year memory today came up on my Facebook. I've been at this for a while, and a gentleman by the name of, he's a professor from Ohio, Lowell Monk. He came and he was a speaker at our Waldorf School in Garden City. And he held up a night crawler in one hand and in his hand, and he put a picture of it on the screen behind him. He's like, how many of you know the feeling, know this? And how many of you know what from there? And that's what we were talking about. And he, began his lecture about we can't dismiss technology. It's part of us, and we know from other civilizations. And if you're really into that kind of stuff, which most of us I think here are, we know that there's been technology in other systems or other races of beings, right? And they have highly technological advances, right? We know about spaceships and all the sightings. I mean, it's on Netflix. It's not hidden anymore. This is all out for, this is all out there. So we know it's just a matter, and like the EMFs and how they affect us, it's just a matter of us and our thoughts and getting control of our consciousness. That's the game. That's the playbook, and that's why we know, like I was called a hippie before when I was making dinner. My daughter's like, "You're a hippie, Ma." I'm like, "Stop it." She goes, "Well, you are." I said, "Well, guess what? We're here and we're here to stay." And I said, "I'm a hippie because I believe in natural ways of healing. I believe in connecting with the earth. I believe in balance." That makes me a hippie because because now that everything that's in our food here is out to kill us, just like what we're seeing in all of these files. I said, now things are shifting where we know this really is we are the majority. We're not the minority anymore. We are the truth tellers. And I think we were talking about this last night, the truth telling trailblazers is what I kept hearing. The year of the fire horse is the truth telling trailblazers. That's a tongue twister. That when we're so removed, like the Industrial Revolution, when the invention of the tractor was like the shift of it all. We lost our footing, literally. And the invention of the light bulb, we know through the studies of artificial light, it's correlated with the rise in cancer. John Ott was the one who created slow release photography. And his studies back in the 70s with 2 classrooms, one was exposed to fluorescent lighting and one was natural light. And the ones with fluorescent light all came up, the longitudinal study, they all had cancer. And Bodhi is saying yes as he jumps on my lap. Talking sick in the middle. Thank you.
Thanks. No, that's really good. So I'm just Tom got back on again. His phone had died up there for a while, up in Coldwater Spring. They are just about to start a big prayer circle up there. So he asks us to send energy to them and prayers and peace. So why don't we take a minute and pause and actually do that? So Coldwater Spring, we had a couple new people come on, is up there in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. It's right across the I think, a body of water from where the ice camp is. It is a state park, but before that it was a ceremony place for the indigenous people up there. So they're there now just speaking peace. So let's just be silent for 1 minute, and in any way you wish or whatever works for you, just send love to those folks. Okay, great. So we're getting thanks. And the grandmothers are coming in on the others. This is getting interesting. So are the ones who are still on Pine Ridge. From the grandmothers. Okay, so some of them are saying, hippies, you're talking to hippies here. So, and here. When we were hippies, there was no one to back us up. Look what's happening now. Look at this huge shift. Look at the fact we stopped back then because nobody was ready. Now everybody is standing up. We're no longer the small group of hippies. Yeah, that's a great point. And we did stop back then. because it was too painful trying to have any kind of voice. And then Kent State happened, and that put an exclamation point on it. But now we're standing peacefully, and we are making changes. We see those who want to keep things the way they were getting more and more desperate. And I send them prayers too, because that's not a pleasant place to be in either. But the changes are starting to happen. People who would never have talked to each other before are coming together, and that's coming out of Cold Spring again as well. There's tribal people there who their tribes have not communicated for generations. And just like we saw at Standing Rock, they're sitting around the fire and talking with one another. So as we move forward with this thing, we're getting there's a lot we're going to pull out of this, I know. But how do we come together? And the fact we have to come together and share our ways and not be the only resource anymore. Okay, here's a quickie, and then I'll put the stick in the middle again. I was on with the Kogi yesterday, the ones who have offered to invite us to a ceremony. Boy, what the heck was I saying? Where was I going? It was really powerful.
Kobe,
Yeah.
are you going to talk about the mothers?
Oh, I know where I was going. So one of them is one of the mamas is probably 97 now. I've been in things with him before. He's been part of things before. He used to be one of the ones who would go out and do the teaching. He can't any longer. He's too old now. But we were talking about the same issue. Okay, how do we connect up all these diverse cultures, and how do we stop thinking we're the only ones? Because we still have a lot of elders in that position. And so he spoke up, and he's also known for, if you ask this mama to speak, you better put the coffee on because he's going to, talk for about 3 hours. So he just said, yeah, I hear this. Yes, and my grandfathers, I'm obviously paraphrasing, my grandfather trained me, my teachers trained me a long time ago. I keep learning as I go along. I've gone out to share the wisdom of the Kogi because we separated ourselves up here so we could keep it pure. And now you're talking about we are still important, we are still an indigenous voice, but one of many. How can we be one of many? But he says, as I feel into it, it's absolutely right. And so if I can do it and face it, you all should be able to. I've been here almost 100 years. And he said, and just to prove my point, to show I can do it, I'm going to be quiet and pass the sage. And that was it. And it was a really good point, though. It's not easy for some who have trained for a long time. I'm lucky. I worked with a whole bunch of different cultures. So I have all kinds of different inputs. And I'm mixed breed, so that helps. But for those that have come down, it doesn't make anything weaker. It was one thing I keep taking away from these meetings. It actually makes it stronger. Whether it's the Kogi or the Hopi or the Dene or the Lakota or the Maya or any of them. Or the Sami. The Sami were on about a week ago from northern Norway. It makes it stronger, actually. None of us has all the answer. So why would you want to take that burden on? It's not necessary. So I think that needs to be part of everything we do. Stick in the middle. Melissa.
I was pulled to Dr. King. So this is a testament of hope, a collection of his writings. So last year I was at Union Theological Seminary. I did my first year. I took a leave this year. I'm going back in September. But I just went through and I pulled, and what I opened to, which I think is quite apropos, is the drum major instinct. And this was his speech.
He preached this sermon from the pulpit of Ebenezer Baptist Church. Stop it. February 4th, 1968. Famous excerpts from it were played and at his nationally televised funeral service held in Ebenezer Baptist Church on April 9th, 1968, 5 days after his assassination. I giggle because we were talking about this last night. February 4th is my mother's birthday. And next Tuesday is my birthday, and my mom passed on my birthday, so that's kind of cool. There's the God wink. We're working with the mother energy for sure. And I won't read all of it, but I think this is so telling to the current impulse of, and this has a lot to do with our education system. And this is what Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian philosopher over 100 years ago, prophesized was the fall of humanity due to commercialism and materialism. So he talks about this drum major instinct. I love that. I was in the marching band in high school. And I coached it after I graduated for a couple of years. So I love it. I love the drum beat. And there it is, deep down within all of us, an instinct. It's a kind of drum major instinct, a desire to be out front, a desire to lead the parade, a desire to be first. And it is something that runs a whole gamut of life. And so before we condemn them, let us see that we all have the drum major instinct. We all want to be important, to surpass others, to achieve distinction, to lead the parade. Alfred Adler, the great psychoanalyst, contends that this is the dominant impulse. Sigmund Freud used to contest that sex was the dominant impulse. And Adler came with a new argument saying that this quest for recognition, this desire for attention, this desire for distinction is the basic impulse, the basic drive of human life, the drum major instinct. Well, this was 1968, and I think that we are in 2026. I think we are at this impulse again, but what I see the difference is instead of the drum major is always a male role, a masculine role, I see just as women being on the drum. Traditionally, they were not allowed on the powwow drum. I know that Spirit of Thunderheart, who I was welcome to drum with, were the first women to win Native American Music Awards for Best Traditional Album, women being on the drum. So I can't help but think that this is creator again being, this is the feminine drum major. This is where we're at. This is the mother. This is us in that rose of needing that Kuan Yin, that Mother Mary, that Inanna, that Isis, that Aphrodite, that Athena, that, even Kuan Yin Avalokitesvara, either or, that feminine energy, the Taras for protection. In all, I've studied, interreligious, all of it, right? And I think that's what Dr. King was talking about. He's like, I got a letter the other day. It was a new magazine coming out, and it opened up, Dear Dr. King, as you know, you're on my mailing lists, and you're categorized as highly intelligent, progressive, the lover of arts and sciences, and I want you to know, to read that I have to say, of course I did. After all, you said that and explain to me so exactly, of course I wanted to read it, but seriously, it goes through life and the drum major instinct is real. And you know what else causes it to happen? It causes us to live above our means. Here's that Steiner impulse again. It's nothing but the drum major instinct. Do you ever see people buy cars that they can't even begin to buy in terms of their income? You've been seeing people riding around Cadillacs and Chryslers who don't even enough to have a good Model T Ford, but it feeds a repressed ego. And we're going back to this. I was listening to another anthroposophist talk, Douglas Gabriel. He's brilliant. He's a Waldorf teacher and educator, and he's got like 50 books out now, really making Rudolf Steiner for dummies because it's hard to read. And he talks about how did this imbalance come with good and evil? How did this happen? And it was like the second we took something on the arm,
The second we allowed the church to hold the seeds for us, and if they died, they gave us new seeds to plant our harvest instead of letting us go hungry. And there's where the imbalance began. And it was religion and the overseeing of commerce and getting involved. So I thought that was brilliant. Talking stick in the middle, but that has a lot to do with why our education system is the way it is, because it's marketed.
Yeah, and why a lot of our systems are the way it is. What really sped it up was the Industrial Revolution, because they pulled everyone into these cities they created, so they would have more worker bees and an easier population to control. And we allowed it because there was a certain degree of comfort. Now people are starting to see, hey, we can't keep living this way. That doesn't mean we go back to, and Tom brings this up often, we don't go back to live the way we did several hundred years ago. No, we use the parts of those teachings that can be applied now. For me, it's always teachings of the ancestors, pardon me, the sustainable science we have now, and the Earth Mother, of course. Combine those elements. We got to create something new. It's not going to look like anything we've known, I think. Except I can still be a tree hugger, I hope. So we just have to see where it goes from there. And talking about Dr. King is really just, wow. I'm remembering, and it's really interesting. So he died, like a year and a half after I got out of high school. But I went to Selma, which was 65, I think. Yeah, 65. I was in 10th grade, so I was a real puppy. But talk about an education. I learned more in those couple of weeks. I faced more fears and doubts and questions than I could have learned in 2 decades. And it's important that we learn these lessons. And a lot of people are now, which is great to see. I saw Valerie. Is that your hand? Yeah.
Just wonderful sharing. I'm seeing that wonderful image that Carla also alluded to with the radiant love, the concentric circles. I'm thinking about how the Coldwater Spring, if they can work out these differences, how it's going to radiate out. And I think that's going to be a beautiful thing, key to helping us with the bridging these differences, but there really aren't differences. But I think we'll come to that through their prayers. It's a very powerful thing happening right now. I'm hoping that Peter might share a little bit about the divine feminine, because I think the divine is speaking to us through flowers within our own little group, as well as in my sunroom. All of a sudden, it's downright a miracle, because I'm in Wisconsin and there's been zero light, but all of a sudden all my flowers are blossoming. So I think I'm being spoken to by the divine feminine. Peter, would you share a little bit, please?
Do you hear me? Wonderful. Okay. I'm not sure what to share. I mean, my interest comes to it, in a way that you'll all understand that things are so out of balance, and that toxic masculinity, as far as I'm concerned, toxic masculinity is the force that's destroying the world, destroying Mother Earth, destroying human cultures, and it's because it's greed and power, and that's the disease that humanity is facing. And so to me, I've become more and more interested in the divine feminine as the antithesis of that, as love and compassion and healing and community, and nurturance and growth and life and love, and so those. So just kind of how it started to frame up for me. you know, what we're seeing every day is toxic masculinity destroying, which obviously this has nothing to do with gender per se, although I think women have more are more easily able to access the divine feminine than men. We have a handicap known as a Y chromosome that we have to deal with. But ultimately, it's something we can all access, and we all need to access it. Or you know, the opposite is death, right? I mean, that's. I'm not saying anything anybody here doesn't know. So. Anyway, I'll just jump in. You know, so I'm trying to learn new ways to cultivate that in me, basically to open my heart. It's all, you know, talked earlier about the heart and the head. It's all here. It's all in the heart. And for me, that's hard. My journey has been long and stupid. You know, you can tell from the color of my beard that I've been doing this a while. And you know, there's that song, I've done all the dumb things. Well, it's an Australian guy that sings that, but I empathize with that. But so it's very important to me in my life as I'm kind of walking near the end of the road here, that I not just cultivate this for myself, but that I'm trying to help shine that light.
Well, am I correct in seeing these flowers blossom early and so on? Is that the divine feminine speaking, or is it just a flower?
What's your heart saying?
It's a message.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I still have 20 inches of snow outside my door, so.
I do too. That's why I'm thinking this
That's
is not.
wild. Then if you've got the flowers, yeah, you know that's a sign.
Yeah, I think it's the mother talking to you.
I will concur, Valerie. I never sit this spot in my house, but I was told to sit here. And if you look over my shoulder, there's my iris watercolor that my dear friend Kelly Beekman painted. She's a Waldorf teacher. And Dr. King is on this bookshelf. I have several bookshelves in my home, and that's what needed to come through tonight, you know? So we just have to listen to all of those synchronistic things that occur, you know? Einstein's quote is synchronicity, or is it? No. Synchronicity is God's way of remaining anonymous. It's not synchronicity. It's coincidence, rather. Sorry. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. That's Einstein. Coincidence, synchronicity, that's Jung.
Thanks, Peter. That was, you got me thinking again. As I work with all these different cultures, I find the two things most prominent that resonate or come out of all of them. One is nature and working with the mother. That's number one. I have not worked with an indigenous culture yet. That nature wasn't a big part of the medicine, the teachings, the stories, whatever. And the other one was the fact that masculine and feminine had to come into balance. And Peter brings up a good point. That doesn't just mean men and women. First, we have to work within ourselves. And I agree, right? In this earth, it's the masculine that is demolishing things. But it's shifted, and we do have some women who are being subverted, I don't know, by their masculine energy.
Because the toxic feminine too. I mean,
correct. Yep.
They've gathered in Washington.
Exactly.
You know. So, but that.
And I really thank him for showing us what we have to heal.
A lot of healing needs.
Oh yeah. Yep. And it's been a long time, and some, you know, like Peter, you know, I don't paint my beard either. I've earned that damn thing. So as we get closer to the end, we want to make sure we finish what we're here for. At least I do. I shouldn't talk for anyone else, but most elders I talk to say the same thing. And I see a couple of heads nodding. Marcy, great to see you.
Thank you. And time for completion is what I think.
Take it.
I'm done here.
I've tried that. He won't
Thank
take
you
me.
very much.
She won't take me. No, you're not done yet.
Yeah. I don't know. By the time this life's done, I certainly hope it's done.
Yes, agreed. Yes.
Mhm. Anyway, hush now.
Yeah, I like that. I do too. I want to make sure I'm here long enough to see that happen. And so know that we at least left something behind that's positive strength. I mean, it's positive we're walking back in these spaces again. As we do shows like this, and as I'm out there doing walks with very diverse people, some who would never talk to me, some who have slapped labels on me and called me names, now walking together because this is about humanity, not little bits and pieces of politics or religion or anything else. But I want to make sure we get through that. But I could be walking back in the 60s. It's that kind of energy again that I see building. I really do. So I want to keep that building. And then
Well,
say,
that's interesting. It's
yeah,
interesting you brought that up today
uh-huh,
or tonight, because today I was or yesterday morning or somewhere in the last while, I was like, this is like the 60s revisited, because I was a
yep,
hippie, I was communal, I was living in all that loud rock and roll and the airwaves of everything. You bet. And I'm like, that's what this is reminding me of, with so many more people in this word love
yep,
than ever were. And I'm like, that's awesome. That wave did not die out.
no.
It's rippled into something bigger, and I'm so thrilled.
Yeah, me too. And I wondered if some of us back then were told that was going to happen, but I was starting to wonder. Yeah, that's more than a couple years ago.
Not just that, but with all the chaos,
Yes,
but that's
yes,
why it's happening, though.
that's right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Ride
that's,
that wave,
yep,
baby.
yep.
And we are.
Yeah, we are.
Grandma Mary said that last week, riding the cosmic surfboard.
Yep. And that's funny because that movie showed up on streaming the other night that I can't remember. Oh, Escape from New York, where they're riding the surfboards because it's the tsunami. I hadn't thought of that movie in probably 40 years. So yeah, it is coming back, and
I think that's part
yeah,
of what those flowers are about in
Mhm.
the day room, is the
Mhm.
arrival of the next era, the next timeline, and
oh, I
it's
like that.
coming
Flowers
in.
in her hair. Remember that song? I can't remember the rest of it.
Oh yeah,
Flowers in her hair. Yada da 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 da. Yeah, yeah.
flowers in her hair.
Uh-huh.
Walking everywhere. Everywhere was a word in there. I'm sorry. Got to be careful when you get a bunch of old farts sitting there. Yeah, yeah. I like
What a
that.
nice, what a nice thing though. The whole feel of that time had a purity about it, even though there was a lot of chaos going on and stuff.
Yeah,
It still had a freedom to it, I don't. It was wonderful.
it really did.
Amongst.
And a lot of us were planting our roots then and starting to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
hopefully we're using it now. I know we are.
an awful lot of us pretty brutal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There are parts of it I prefer not to remember, but they come back too. Friends coming back in body bags from Vietnam is not a good thing to remember, but it was part of the lessons.
Yeah.
And we don't want to go there again, and I don't think we're going to have to. I think I don't even like to say it, but maybe I will. I was going to say I think we're winning this. No, I think we've already won it, actually. but we have to hold strong and firm and keep shining the light of love, and then it'll be over. And then maybe the flowers are the other side, Thunderbird starting, because we're planting the gardens now. I hope we can get some good gluten-free crops in, please. Thank you. That's a personal aside. Stick in the middle.
I had something, but it came and went.
I've been getting a lot of those. I know. I thought it was my age, but it's not.
Oh, I pulled a card earlier for the youth, and I'd like to share it. So a little Jamie Sam's coming in.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Jamie. Good to see you, dear. Love you.
Thank you for blessing us with your friend Jim here, Jamie. I like him. Thank you. All right, so I pulled it earlier. It's number 42, the bat. So the bat is rebirth. Sacred bat flew to me from the darkness of the cave, womb-like reflections, answers it gave. Birth, death, rebirth, cycle of the whole, never ending, just eclipsed the journey of the soul. We had an eclipse today. How about that?
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That is.
So the bat is steeped in the mystery of the Mesoamerican tribal ritual in the legend of Bat. Akin to the ancient Buddhist belief in reincarnation in Central America, bat is the symbol of rebirth. The bat has for centuries been treasured medicine as of the Aztec, Toltec, Tolucan, and Mayan peoples. Bat embraces the idea of shamanistic death. The ritual death of the healer is steeped in secrets and highly involved initiation rites. Shaman death is the symbolic death of the initiate to the old ways of life and personal identity. The initiation that brings the right to heal and to be called shaman is necessarily preceded by ritual death. Most of these rituals are brutally hard on the body, mind, and spirit. In light of today's standards, it can be very difficult to find a person who can take the abuse and come through it with their balance intact. The basic idea of ancient initiations was to break down all the former notions of self that were held by the shaman to be. This could entail brutal tests of physical strength and psychic ability, and having every emotional button pushed hard. Taunting and splitting on the initiate was common, and taught him or her to endure the duress with humility and fortitude. The final initiation step was to be buried in the earth for one day and to be reborn without the former ego in the morning. Oh, I love that. The ritual is very similar to the Night of Fear practiced by natives of Turtle Island. In this ritual, the shaman to be is sent to a certain location to dig his or her grave and spend the night in the womb of Mother Earth totally alone, with the mouth of the grave covered by a blanket. Darkness and the sounds of animals prowling quickly confronts the initiate with his or her fears. At the darkness of the grave has its place in the ritual, so does the cave of Bat. Hanging upside down is a symbol for learning to transpose your former self into a newborn being. This is also the position that babies assume when they enter the world from the womb of woman. If Bat has appeared in your cards today, it symbolizes the need for ritualistic death in some way of a life that no longer suits your new growth pattern. This can mean a time of letting go of old habits and assuming the position in life that prepares you for rebirth, or in some cases, initiation. In every case, Bat signals rebirth of some part of yourself or the old death patterns. If you resist your destiny, it can be a long, drawn-out, or painful death. The universe is always asking you to grow and become your future. To do so, you must die the shaman's death.
That's that's a big one to bring in. I was saying earlier that that's kind of what I've been going through again. I thought I was all done with that stuff, but apparently not. It's like somebody asked me about it the other day who's older than me. Yes, they exist. And it was, we both agreed we're used to seeing things from 30,000 feet because of the walk we've been on. Now it seems like we're looking at it from 60,000 feet. And you see even more, but it's even harder to make out what the hell's going on. And that's part of why I went to go back to do the plant medicine. Some of it sent up to me from Central America. And I know it sounds intense, that kind of death, and it is, and it can be very difficult to get through. But the rewards of what you learn and what you feel, know about yourself, know about your roles are incredible. It's really another way of talking about a vision quest, because there's tribes that don't do vision quests, but they do the ritual death for those who are going to be medicine people. So here's from Tom up in the camp again. Nice. So apparently they've gotten word. I said earlier they were going to allow them to be there until Thursday. What are they called? The ICE, but the governing part of that thing. Now they're saying maybe it doesn't have to be a firm date. So they're backing off a bit. We'll see what happens Thursday, but they're backing off, which is great because it looks like there's about 150 people up there now, and there's a lot more coming. So that's really nice. And then we'll have a couple grandmothers up there too in a couple days. So we're well represented up there. And this time I didn't have to go, which is good because my knees wouldn't carry me like they used to. Talking stick in the middle. Where else do we want to go with this? We have about 15 minutes left or a little more. My co-host, I'm getting a lot of great ideas. Are you guys? Is there anything specific we want to ask the circle?
There's a few that came in a little later, like Marcy.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to have an opportunity to share. We've been asking, is there something you'd like a topic covered or an area of interest or something you see, and we call it a podcast, but maybe it's a talking circle. So what are your thoughts?
I haven't any at the moment. I'll think about it.
Good.
I did come in late, so I didn't really know the real grasp of the total topic tonight, but I picked up some things, but you know how that works. But yeah, I'll think about that, Valerie. All right.
Yeah, and anyone else, either here or who's listening to us or who plays it later. All the input we can get is great. What is it? What are we trying to accomplish now? It's not a traditional podcast. It's not about any one line of spiritual work, of thought. Yes, thank you. Or heart, for that matter. Either both. So yeah, that'd be great.
When I say thought, I mean both.
Yeah, I figured you did. I have trouble. I have to separate because mine sometimes get angry at each other. So
well, they can do that. I agree.
yeah, they can. They can.
But there's a bigger mind that contains it all. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'll think some on that, Valerie, anyway, and I'll shut up now.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Valerie.
One thing I shared is I really enjoy the topic of the happenings right now, bringing the old sage experiences and wisdom, but applying it to today's events, which I just don't see anywhere. But I really treasure that and value that very much. Jim, you did that so well. So I'd like that to continue.
Yep, I agree. So we're hearing from our youth council split because some went up to Minneapolis and some are back on Pine Ridge. So the ones on Pine Ridge are sharing that they're thanking us for sharing from our hearts, and they want us to know that they are getting ready. So they'll be happy to do things with us now, and they'll be ready when it's their turn to step up. That's pretty cool. That's really, thank you. I don't even know who's leading it there right now because Tom's with the other group, but thank you all. Much appreciated. Whoops. Looks like we lost Tom up in the camp too. He may be back. It's okay. We work with what we have.
I have to go. I've got another thing to do, so I just wanted to say bye and see you guys soon.
Yep. See you. See you.
Okay, bye.
I think we're gonna wrap up in a few minutes, unless we have something else. Melissa's grabbed another book. We're in trouble.
I think that when we began talking about this a couple of weeks ago, but being weavers,
Yes.
and I think that's something that's interesting. In these times, we have so many different levels of expertise in the room, and maybe if we came up with, I know you asked me a lot, like how to ground or what's the best way to come to center when we're so well, I mean, for so many of us, these moments are like, really? Like I know I said that, and like I know I dreamt it, or I know I saw it, I just know it in my heart, but like, wow, it's really happening, really, and it's happening so fast. And even for me, my energy can spiral, so then I get looped and looped and looped. So it's like, how do you remain in that center and not continuously be on that loop? And maybe there's some advice or some suggestions. I think that the power of prayer is really important, and what we're doing. Like I feel it, like it doesn't have to be a million people. People think, oh, well, what is little going to do? It's different than casting a vote. I feel a prayer is very different in terms of when you send that up. So maybe something like that.
Yeah, I'll throw out a couple things we've been working with. Nature is number one. Get out there and hug a tree. Now you'll have people with you instead of laughing at you. Anything in nature helps connect the parts. And then the other one is that model. Action, prayer, education, and ceremony. Doing those things stops or breaks you out of the mold. We get stuck going around and around and around, and as you do, you go deeper. And the more you do that, there is I don't pretend to know all the science behind it, but that is a real, it's not a disease. Well, it feeds on itself, and people think they're resting when they're actually getting deeper and deeper into negative feelings or feeling like they're not doing anything. So the more we can break that and do things, the better off we are.
Jim, is that what you think the wrong turn was? You and Marcy both are saying that it feels like the 60s. Was it a wrong turn off the ramp, so to speak, and that people began to despair?
In the 60s?
Mhm.
No, I don't think it was. Okay, so for me, stepping up in Vietnam, I was in the resistance, and I hated those SOBs just as much as they hated me, and we threw bricks back when they threw bricks. And then I walked with Dr. King as got a puppy. I was probably 15, and I saw that difference. And right away I learned, and I moved more into the hippie culture, and we walked with that. At Woodstock, it was some of what you hear is true, but what you don't hear is the incredible sense of community. I forget how many of us were there. It was more than 10, I can tell you that. Then things happened. We used to talk about it a lot. We did feel alone. We felt like we're out here trying to do this, and there's nobody behind us. And we were all young, and we would turn around and ask our parents, and they're going, "Oh, come on. Will you shut up and sit down and behave yourself?" Because that's what everyone had been culturized to. I think ours is actually the first generation who started to really realize, hey, wait a minute, we're being manipulated here. I'm sure there were others before, but where there was any number. And then when Kent State happened, nothing like that had ever happened before. And they were shooting down people, young people. Before that, there was another time that happened, and that wasn't even documented because the people happened to be black. And I don't even know if many people know that happened, but there was another shooting incident before that. I forget how many were killed. But that, I think, hit us all so hard. It affected our complete psyches. Somehow we knew, all right, it's not time yet. So let's gather up our roses and our beads and our jeans, and let's wait. Personally, I never thought we'd be waiting this long. But here we are, my God, almost 60 years later. And now it's coming out because it is time. And some of the horrible people that are acting out, they're doing their jobs. Something had to bring this to the surface. Something had to stop it being hidden in the dark places none of us go. It had to be made clear. There's people out there who just hate for the sake of hating, mostly because they're so afraid. And so that's what's happening, but what we're fighting it with, we're not throwing bricks. We're using the love, the songs. Marcy and I, we're trying to find the lyrics. I know the lyrics to so many songs, and they've been popping up again online and whatever. Some of us who were the singers then are still around. I saw Joan Baez not long ago. So I think it had to wait. The earth said, no, not yet. We're not ready. You don't have what you need. Now we do. Now we're out there. We're peacefully in the streets. We're marching in such numbers, there's really nothing they can do at this point. We're well past the 3.3 principle, which says if 3.3% of the population starts to demonstrate, in history, nothing has ever stopped what that group was trying to do. And we're well over that. So it's, I think it's a matter of timing. I think we were in deep sadness when things started to slow down. We were certainly shocked by the killings. But I don't think we just jumped in holes out of fear. I think we literally were pulled back by the mother. We didn't know it. I mean, I didn't, I was a young person. I didn't know much then. Hopefully compared to now, although sometimes, I'm with Peter. I go out there every day, make sure I make my mistakes so others don't have to. And I can talk about them. Whoops, screwed this up. Does that answer the question? I don't know.
Wonderful answer. I think Melissa still had something to share with us.
Yeah, and here's something here also from...
April just wrote in the chat as well. One of my suggestions in community surveys was to be a certain gatherer. Like if you grow a garden, grow things that you can share with your community, harvest medicines that you can share with your community. But the new people who come into council try to do things their own way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, right?
and exchanging seeds and plants. And I know, I did that for years. I just reached out to my old neighbor the other day who we shared pictures of our plants and what we're going to do for the spring. So yeah, that could be something else that we create from this circle is an exchange of seeds and different plants that we can share with each other. Because you grow one thing, you always have an abundance of something, and whether it's hardy to your area or, I think that's a beautiful part of sharing.
And that'll be another big piece of education, because as we get through this, the way the climate is changing and will continue to change, the climates and ecosystems around us are going to be very different. So we're going to have to learn how to work in the whatever our climate ends up being when we're done. And we're already seeing some of that. I know we're seeing it down here in the desert already. It's like, well, these plants aren't going to work anymore. Now we're getting just too damn hot. So yeah, we can definitely do some of that.
Yeah, and maybe we have a few minutes left. Maybe I'll just close out by this is a chapter of the Soul Weaving book by Catherine Ann Clement. She wrote with.
Wait, before you do that, just so it's in our hearts, if I may. That's what you said before. It's that weaving thing. For years and years, I've said, and many have said as we do ceremony, we do this to help to heal the sacred hoop wherever it is broken. We no longer say that. We now say we do this to help weave a new sacred hoop, because everything's too broken. So the weaving is critical right now. It's yours.
Yeah, awesome. So this is the third chapter, but this chapter is being all you can be. And Confucius wrote, "I want you to be everything that's you, deep at the center of your being." I think that's so important, where it's so difficult to find our center. No matter how many tools you have in your toolbox, we forget sometimes and we fall off the wagon and we don't always go there. So I'll just pull a little bit from here, because I think it's really all about this self-love. Whether, we live this and experience, no one is any greater or lesser than any aspect. The only difference between you and others is where each one is in their process of awakening to their true nature. So that's why we're a circle. There's no hierarchy. We're all equals, and that's part of the teachings. I know when I taught at the college level, I had a mentor, George Russell, he was also friends with Jane Goodall, and he has some beautiful book, Children of Nature, a compilation. And he's like, Melissa, make sure you have all of even at the college level, all of your students sitting in a circle. You'll see such a difference. And I did. And they got angry sometimes because they just wanted to not deal and not face each other. But in a culture that we just walking up with our phones in our faces, or we're not connecting with each other, that's part of this disconnect from our center and our core. It's much easier to pull a gun out and shoot somebody when you don't have to look them in the eye, and you can have internet muscles, I think just a closing thought, you were talking about the war and what it was like, and you spoke of, and I remember my dad doing this, opening up his yearbook and going, that one's dead, that one's dead, that one's dead, that one's dead. All his friends were drafted to the war in Vietnam and whatnot. And our kids have that with the amount of suicides. I can't tell you how many, when you go through the yearbook now, it's like, oh, that one, that one, that one, that one. And that's what's going on with our youth. So the war is not over in Vietnam. The war is right in our living rooms and our local schools. So there's where the shift is, and it's real. And the rise of suicides among our teenagers is at an all-time high. So it's important for us to experience, we have our own level of awakening, and a lot of people get all tripped up in like all these different past lives and what does that mean. And a lot with me, people come to me, I want to do past life regression. I'm like, we need heart-centered hypnotherapy. We're not like worried, like, oh, I was this in the past life. I was, King Tut. I was this one. I was that one. It doesn't matter, And listen, I know, like, I have these contacts, and we all were something really great, and we all were something really bad, and we were all killers, and we were all lovers, and that's part of being human. So the lifetimes are all aspects of great beings, and there are times when you more fully allowed the God within you not only to move through you, but be you. And that's the biggest thing, you know, I say this all the time is we need spirituality or God or source, creator, whatever you want to call it. But the source that we think is outside of ourselves, we have to understand that we have the I am within us. We all have that. And when we can understand that we're all connected to each other, we won't be so hurtful to each other on the outside, I feel. So whether this awareness is brought forth through current experience or through past life discoveries, it's to remind you the magnificence of God being at one with you is your birthright and your gift from source. It's the gift access of your creator creating, expressing, and experiencing creation through you, the essence of life as you, through the God within you, comes to know itself, or as we see at the Oracle of Delphi, know thyself. So I think that the more, you know, you asked earlier how we can ground and even our youth, I think it's the more you know yourself and connect, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a blood relative. You reconnect with your soulmates also. And I think that that's so important for us to know that family is not just blood. Family is the company that you keep, the people that have your back, and that will help us get back to the handshakes where we need to get back to. So that I wanted to just add. There's some more here, but it's good, you know. We're a lot more multidimensional than we ever realized or we ever really believed, and now it's on YouTube. So it's got to be true, right?
Watch it on Netflix. Yeah.
Watch it on Netflix. Now we know it's true. Thank you.
Okay, here's a parting shot from the grandmothers. They're listening to you and they totally agree. Family, for those of us on the spiritual journey, the more productive family is the family we form of people of like mind. Our birth family is our birth family, but often difficult. It's a learning experience. Yeah, and I found that myself and with a lot of others. I loved my birth family, but there was a lot of things we couldn't even talk about because they weren't there. And that's fine. You know, they walked it the way they walked it. So yeah, thank you. Thanks, Grandmother Val. And actually, thanks to all of the three groups tonight. I didn't get all your questions, I'm afraid. Three's it, that's my maximum. Please, no more. Or somebody else will have to do it too. But thank you. Thank you for being there. For those of you up at the camp, please stay safe, but keep up the good work. Whew. Anybody here on the panel have anything final to say, or are we good? This was a really good discussion, and you guys are exactly who we needed here tonight.
Just wanted to let our youth know that we're very thankful for them, and all the happy gathered up at Coldwater Springs. And my heart and my prayers are with you every day. Right along with I pray for my grandsons, I pray for you.
Great. All right, everybody. Love you all. Keep up the good work. Peter, hope to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you, brother. Good to have you. Bye all.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Peter. Thank you for coming, everyone.